All right, we got semifinals set in Paris, Bercy, and the French are going crazy for their man Hugo Gaston, who somehow made it to the quarterfinals. We're going to talk about that run that he has, how he hoodwinked, bamboozled young Carlos Alcaraz. Novak Djokovic also looked fresh, looked better today, and is closing in on securing the bag and the number one year-end title for the record 7th time. And the Turin ATP Finals top 8 are set. So we're going to get into all this on this episode of The Slice. Welcome to the show.
I go fair. You look at me, I can
Coming at you from the Delray Beach Open, Miami Open, down in the grounds. This is
Novak and Dominic Leandre.
We are here with the man, Niels Raunet.
Welcome to the Slice.
Well, folks, it's been a pretty electric, I don't know what you want to say, entertaining, pretty wild time on the indoor courts at the Paris Masters. You know, a lot of tennis fans are just sleeping on this whole section of the year. The casual fans don't tend to tune in, but the hardcores, you and me, are here. So I appreciate you being here. So hit the subscribe button if you are a hardcore tennis fan and you want to keep getting the information that's going to help you be the best tennis fan you can be. And we can all just hang out and watch this incredible tennis, honestly, that's been going on. But one of the biggest stories in my mind is the crowd and the patriotism behind their player, which I totally get. When Shapovalov was beating Rafa Nadal in Canada, in Montreal, I think it was, back in 2017, and he was like 18. The Canadians were going buck wild. It was 1,000% on the side of Denis Shapovalov. Nobody really blames the Canadian crowd for that. The situation yesterday with Gaston beating Alcaraz, it was a little bit different. I'm not really blaming the French crowd yet. They're flamboyant. They're going crazy. In my analogy was the frogs are hopping around. They're just going nuts for their guy, which I get. Hugo Gaston, he had that amazing run at the 2020 French Open, beating Dominic Thiem, making the quarterfinals. But he's been playing challengers all year, mixed success. Not a player that you look at and it's going to be like he's going to be a massive star in the future. He's just too small, it seems. He's got an amazingly interesting game, the way he can use changes in pace and changes in shot selection, like variety, to really bamboozle players. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But anyways, so Carlos Alcaraz is up a break in the first set, loses it with the crowd going nuts. And then he's up 5-0 in the second set. And then I didn't even watch this live, but I just went back and watched all the highlights. And then loses, gets broken, and the crowd is going buck wild for Hugo. They're chanting. It seems like a soccer match in there. And Carlos just can't handle it, clearly. He gets broken to go a couple times to go 5-all, and then he gets broken instantly after being made to wait again and again and again by the crowd. He gets broken, and then he sits in the changeover with his head in his towel the whole time. He said after, I think he said he knew it was going to be like crazy, but he didn't know how it was going to be that crazy. So, great for the French. They got their guy through. He lost to Daniil Medvedev in the next round. But the thing it's almost like, to me, it's kind of embarrassing almost for Hugo Gaston in a way, because Hugo Gaston is 21. He's ranked like 103, I think, in the world. 21 is pretty young. He's like, you're supposed to be an upcoming player. You've made the quarterfinals of the French Open before. And then there's this younger player, Carlos Alcaraz, who's 18 years old. Yeah, he's ranked like 35 in the world at this point. He's like an established kind of star at the top. But you celebrating like that and kind of like having the whole crowd on you that hard to win, acting like you're this like massive underdog, which, yeah, you are the underdog in this match. But when you're the older player who's been on tour and been a name on tour for longer, it's kind of like almost a little, it's like, do you not belong on the same court? Like, you guys were both just playing challengers together in the last year and a half. Do you guys not belong in the same court anymore? Like, it's so crazy that Hugo Gaston beat this 18-year-old who has basically no experience. I don't know. To me, it was just a little bit like, okay, yeah. So is this going to be the biggest win of Hugo Gaston's career, beating Carlos Alcaraz at 18 years old when he had no clue how to handle the crowd? I don't know. That's a pretty harsh take on Gaston. I realize that. But at the same time, Carlos Alcaraz is like, you can't. It was not a tennis match in there. It was like football level stuff. Like there's just no preparing, I don't think, for that. And Carlos didn't handle it obviously like he should have. He's the better tennis player, always will be. He's going to a much different level in tennis than Paris Bercy losing the fourth round to Hugo Gaston. So this is a learning experience for him. Obviously, he's had a great year, and he's going to take it, and he's going to be better for it. But that's just my thoughts on the situation. What do you think? Let me know down below. As I said, Djokovic looked better. He looked better today against Fritz. He had the day off against Monfils because he had to pull out It was interesting, though. He won his first set 6-4, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 6-4. But he got broken 3 times. So if you didn't watch and you went back to look at that, or only got broken twice, actually, in the first set. It was interesting. He'd break Fritz and then get broken instantly back at, like, love. So good match from Djokovic today. I think he will need more against Hubert Hurkacz tomorrow, who got through James Duckworth. Hubert Hurkacz got through James Duckworth. James Duckworth is playing good. Again, kind of same thing. Hubert Hurkacz is on another level. But the pressure of having to qualify for, if Hubert were to win that match, he was qualifying for Turin, which is the ATP Finals, which puts you on like an elite level. The pressure was so evident on Hurkacz. He was like stuck in the mud, stuck in the baseline, not really playing the attacking tennis he's been playing a lot more in 2021. So it was interesting to see him battling with those pressure demons coming through as he should have to now play Djokovic. I think he'll play with a lot less pressure on his back because he's qualified for Paris or for Turin. He's got really nothing to lose against Djokovic, and he's already proven he can, ball at an extremely high level. So that's a danger match for Djokovic tomorrow. Then we got Zverev, who came through Rube fairly straightforwardly. It was a tight match, but fairly straightforward. And then versus Daniil Medvedev, who beat Gaston in what was way too close of a match in the first set there. It was hilarious to see Daniil Medvedev, who literally just beat Novak Djokovic in straight sets in the U.S. Open final, struggling that hard against the guy like 5'8" or 9, Hugo Gaston, who's like lobbing him, drop shotting him, slow balling him. It was like when someone goes to the gym, you play a guy who you think is way less good than you, and they're just slow balling you, but they're like athletic and they keep everything in. You're just like, I can't hit the ball to this guy. I can't win anymore. Like, and you just crumble. That's not supposed to happen for pro players, but it almost did for Daniil. He almost lost that first set. I think he had to save set point, and I'm not sure on that. But if he lost the first set, anything could happen. Daniil, he's a little bit unpredictable sometimes. He would say that. Anyways, we got Zverev versus Medvedev now. The head-to-head is 5-4 for Zverev, but check this. Medvedev has won the last 3 times they've played and 4 out of the last 5, and all of their matches have been played on hard court. So Medvedev's obviously upped his game a little bit more, but this is actually the first time Zverev and Medvedev have played in 2021 since the ATP Cup at the beginning of the year. So it's going to be interesting because, in my opinion, Medvedev and then Zverev have been the 2 and 3 probably best players, on hard court for sure in 2021 behind Djokovic. So this is kind of a really proving ground for they're both going to really want this. They're going to want to make the final to probably play Djokovic. And I don't think they're 2 obviously huge competitors, and they're the 2 outside of Djokovic, like I said, best players on hard court. So it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to play better on the day. They both got games that can kind of counteract each other. So big baseline hitting, flat balls on a lot of them, and on these indoor courts, it's going to be I think a surgical tale. So I hope they can both play well. We can just see some crazy rallies, which we undoubtedly will. It'll be a mental game because both of them have had mental lapses in the past. But I think Zverev has a lot to prove because he watched Medvedev win the U.S. Open when arguably Zverev should have won it last year. So he's got a lot to prove. I think Zverev wants to be seen as the best player in the world, and he wants to get there. And beating Medvedev here would help him to set up, I think, a really good 2022 and possibly a major winning 2022 for him. So that's going to be an interesting battle. Djokovic versus Hurkacz, super interesting battle as well. They played twice, both in 2019, French Open, Wimbledon. Djokovic won both, but Hurkacz is top 8 now, playing way better. He won a Masters 1000. He made the Wimbledon semifinal. I actually think he would have been a better test for Djokovic in the final of Wimbledon than Berrettini was. So interesting. We'll see how he can relax. I think it's definitely more up to Hurkacz how close it's going to be than Djokovic. Djokovic is going to play well, but Hurkacz could not. But that's based on his nerves, which I think will be lessened after he's qualified for Turin. So who's into Turin? We got Djokovic, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, Zverev, Rublev, Berrettini, Ruud, and Sinner. Cancel that, not Sinner. Hurkacz, because Sinner lost earlier. Hurkacz is in to the last 8, and then Sinner and Norrie are going to be the alternates. So that's going to be super interesting. That's, to me, these are obviously the top 8 players in 2021. It's just a look into the future. Very cool to see this much talent at the top. I think it's going to be a super competitive field, and I do not think it's a lock for Djokovic to win. I think Djokovic could lose in 3 sets to any of those players, and he'll have to play well to win it. But I think if he wins, last thing, I guess, for the year-end number 1 spot, Djokovic, you've probably already looked it up, but if Djokovic wins Paris, he's got it. If Djokovic makes the final and Medvedev loses, Djokovic has got it. That's the only scenarios. If Medvedev loses in the semifinals, Djokovic has it. Medvedev basically has to win the tournament to keep his hopes alive to be number one, and then I think he would have to win the ATP Finals with Djokovic losing at some point earlier in the tournament. So there's a look at it. The ATP Finals is going to be sick. The rest of Paris is going to be sick. We got 4 incredible players left: Djokovic, Hurkacz, Zverev, and Medvedev. It's going to be a battle. What are your thoughts on everything I've said? Thank you for being here. Subscribe to the show. Get all your tennis gear 10% off from courtsidesports.com. Legendary. We'll see you guys next time.